Yes, please. Yes, so we'll just wait for a couple of minutes. If anybody has any questions, anything you wish to share, you are welcome, or we can just wait for participants to join. All right, I think we can begin. Those of you who can turn on your video screens, please do turn it on. Yes, please. Hari Om. सरस्वते नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धे भवतु मे सदा वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् हरि ओम. Yes, namaste. So we begin with the fifth Adhyaya of the Gita. Before that, can someone recollect what is it that we saw last? Yes, please. Yes, please. Anything. Ji. Yes, sir. Ji.
Sri Krishna is telling Arjun that you have Shraddha in me.
Okay.
Just that is what he is telling, advising him. Without Shraddha, you cannot. Shraddha is important.
The importance of Shraddha was emphasized by Krishna, is what Srinivas ji is saying. Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, ji. Anybody would like to add a little bit further to what Srinivas ji shared?
Also, we talked about the sacrifice.
Ji. We talked about
Sacrifice.
sacrifice. Okay.
Yeah. So, sacrifice is very important. Like different people do different kinds of sacrifice. And also, we talked about how a guru imparts the knowledge, passes on the knowledge, and that makes the change.
Ji, okay, yes, Dipti ji, that was one tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya, means by serving, by dutifully questioning, all that is allowed, but that was why we have the Guru Parampara in our Sanatana Dharma. So where you can understand, and what is that knowledge? That knowledge which will allow you to see the divinity in all, this supreme consciousness, that divine inside of you, inside of others. Again, this is same as the Upanishad as well. Again, the Vedic rishis first they ask that let me see the brilliance of the divine. They call upon Pushan Devata. He says, give me that strength to recognize in all. Yatte kalyanatamam tatte pashyami. Means whatever that is brilliant, in that brilliant things in the world, in the most beautiful things in the world, give me the strength to recognize your presence. And then comes the last part. And then realize that I too am thee. Soham Asmi is the next realization after the realization of the divinity in all. So again, ultimately the blessing what Guru gives is that only, and that is what Krishna is saying. So yes, if we are not in the Guru Parampara, we have not identified our Guru in life, it is fine. Recognize Krishna as our Guru. We say Krishna Mande Jagat Guru. He is there everywhere. His Jagat Guru will guide us. He will teach us what we need to know. But again, for that, Shraddha is required. So again, ultimately, it boils down to that, because one thing is, what happens when there is no Shraddha has been told. Can somebody tell me what is that? Without Shraddha, what happens? Shraddha has been introduced. The benefit has been told. But what happens when it is missing? Anybody?
Doubts will never go away.
will not get the knowledge.
Okay, yes, okay. Vasudevanji saying this will never get the knowledge. Srinivasanji says doubts will not go away. Dr. Poonamji wants to add. Yes, please.
Yes. So the one who doesn't have doesn't have vivek.
Hmm.
So they will be bound with their karmas and karma phals, and they will neither be happy in this world nor
Okay.
in the
Nayam lokos, not this world also, not in the next world also. Because doubts are there always, and it is said, at least have faith in yourself, if not in everything. But then sometimes our individual force is so less compared to all the things in the outside. So it's always better to identify. And they say Shraddha Sthana is something which is a place which is unshakable and one place which is the source of strength. So it is something like that. For a child growing up, parents are their Shraddha Sthana. When they grow up, when they're very young, then that is like, yes, no, my mother told this, my father told this, my teacher told this, that's all. That is the highest truth. There is no higher truth in the world. So this aspect of Shraddha is something which is important, and this Shraddha is not just some kind of what we can say a psychological aspect. It is a very real experience of people that this is how it works. Krishna also says Shraddha one labhate jnanam. With Shraddha, you create the consciousness of receptivity inside of you. You can learn. If you see, Datta Guru had so many different gurus. It starts with even insects are guru, there is a bird is a guru, even prostitute is a guru. All this, and then he becomes the Adi, the great Adi Guru, Adi Deva. How Dattatreya, the full Datta Parampara was established later on. But you see that the very aspect, Shraddha is important and you can learn from anywhere. We know the story of Ekalavya learning from Dronacharya. From Dronacharya, Dronacharya did not want to teach him. Yet Shraddha forced Dronacharya to teach him. It was like, no, he will, but he will teach me. I have identified. And how, what was it? He learned by hiding from Dronacharya. He made a statue of Dronacharya. He would bow and stand and became the best archer that way. So this aspect, this very aspect of Shraddha is something which is very brilliant. It can, make you rise in consciousness. There are so many examples of how this solid faith has helped. It is said you can, drain oceans, you can move mountains if you have that Shraddha. That is the power of Shraddha. Now, later on we will in Gita look at one example of a person who actually broke down a mountain.
Just like to add, we are
Yes.
all like Ekalaya Bhakti, online learning now.
Ji, and Krishna is there everywhere. So we
Even
have.
Guru does not know we are reading his or hearing him.
Ji, our Krishna is our Guru, so he is
Only
there. Ji, and Krishna is our Guru and he is there. He is there all the time. Every time we can just be conscious.
not mean Krishna, I mean like
The,
human gurus who are there.
yes,
We are listening to them. Even they don't know that we are listening to them.
Ji,
Learning,
Ji, Ji, Ji,
hiding online learning.
Ji, 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 Ji.
Or just thought crossed my mind.
Yes, Ji, Hari Om, Hari Om. Yes, Ji. So this thing that Krishna has told is, yes, this is it. He says this is the way. And he says, this is that knowledge because this is the knowledge that is going to liberate. It is going to free you and it is going to set others free also. This is that liberating knowledge. He goes on saying that because with this knowledge, the great ones have risen. They have risen above the karma bandhanas, the flux of karma. I think Dr. Poonamji talked to us about the reactions out of desires, karma bandhana, karma phala. These are all traps which we do not know. We keep running after them and more we get entangled. It troubles us all the more. So this higher knowledge teaches one to come out of those traps as well. He is true, the true knowledge. One more thing, this knowledge has the power to obliterate everything. All the sins, nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram. It is the most pavitra and it is that Agni, Jnana Agni, which burns everything. Worst sinner can be transformed. Valya can become the great Rishi Valmiki with this knowledge, and that knowledge is accessible to all. We just have to reach to that state of consciousness, and if we are receptive, our Guru will bless, Krishna will give everything to us. But that state should be there. Now in Arjuna, you see, he has not yet, he started, he said, Shishyasteham Shadhimam Tvam Prapannam. Yet he has not yet gone into that state. He is still having skeptical questions. We also see that surrender is not just a one-time process. Many times surrender has to be, it is like lifelong process. Very slowly you enter into it, you become more and more purified as you start recognizing and removing all that is unnecessary from the personality. And the greater the surrender, the greater the receptivity and more is received. So it is like that. And Krishna says, Tasmad Ajnana Sambhutam Hridstam Jnana Sinatana. He says, use this Chitvainam Sanshayam Yogam Attishta Bharata. Rise, Uttishta Bharata is what he says. And this knowledge will help Bharat rise. That is what Gita is, the great scripture. Because it is that knowledge which is going to break all these shackles of all these bondages also. And people will be free. So with this knowledge, you can shred that ignorance which is preventing. So with this, we are actually entering into the fifth adhyay. Before we start the fifth adhyay, let us just have a look at the illustration for our fifth adhyay, after which we will begin our adhyay. Yes, please. Can anybody just tell me? Yes, please. Can you see this? Can someone describe this? Hari Om.
This looks like if I see there,
Ji.
the top, like the first picture right side, a girl and a boy is there. So they are reacting in the same way. Like if one is getting angry, the other one also has like a
Okay.
similar reaction,
Okay.
frowny face
Okay.
or like very
Okay.
disturbed. But when in the bottom picture, when one is happy, the other one is also happy. So it's like a passive on the vibe.
Okay. All right. Yes, Deepti ji is saying yes. I see a change in the two images of children. One side they are grumpy and grouchy. They're angry, looking angry at each other only. And the second they are laughing joyously, hand in hand.
And as we say, happiness breeds happiness, kindness breeds kindness, and
Okay.
sadness and
Ji.
hatred. So it looks like that.
Okay. Okay, Deepti ji. All right. Anybody would like to add further? What else do you see there?
They were looking at physical desires, emotional desires, intellectual desires.
Ji,
That
ji.
probably make them
Okay. So there are.
angry. Not getting them made them angry, and
Okay. Okay. Yes.
now,
Ji, ji. Yes. Yes, Vasudevan ji. Yes.
now they are free of that desire.
Yes.
To be happy.
Okay. All right. All right. Yes. Srinivasan ji was adding, and Dr. Poonam ji
Yeah,
after that. Yes, please.
just the way the tree has so many branches,
Ha.
we also have so many different types of desires.
Okay.
Just
Ji.
like a tree, the desire has the branches.
Yes.
So, so the one who are in the shadow of those trees,
Ha. Ha.
those are surrounded by the desires or entangled in the desires,
Ji.
are always stressed and in
Ji.
anger or something. But those who are not in the shadow or those are free of those desires, they will be happy.
Ji, ji, ji. Yes, yes. I think that is very nicely said. And look at the desire tree. What are there are no leaves only in that tree. There is a singular bird, and there are three cages. One is a physical cage, one is an emotional cage, and another is intellectual cage. And that is the desire tree. So probably these are the three types of desires which trap a person. Sometimes it's the physical desire which traps. Sometimes it is the emotional, and then there is the intellectual. All three are cages which, if you see, there is an aura of darkness around the tree also and around the angry children also. So maybe that desire is what is bringing that. And what happens when that aura is removed? We can see them laugh and smile. So probably if we want to be free and joyous in life, we just have to control our desire and anger. So with that, probably we should, that is the simplest solution. So let us see how this is connected with this Adhyaya. I think I'll stop sharing unless anybody wishes to add something. Yes, please. All right. I'll just stop the sharing. Yes, Hari Om. So we start the fifth Adhyaya. We already gave our rating to Arjuna yesterday after the session, whether he is liking or understanding what Krishna has said? Well, here we see the report card of Arjuna. Panchama Adhyaya is beginning. Arjuna Uvacha Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryogam cha shansasi yat shreyam etayorekam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. You just tell me yat shreyaha. Again, Krishna, you are doing the same thing, he says. Arjuna asked, O Krishna, the virtues of renunciation of actions you praise, and yet a union with the divine. In all actions you raise. Of these two, which is the best? Please do tell. Which is the way that will augur me well? He says, no, Arjun, Krishna, you are again confusing, he says. One side you are talking about this renunciation of action. All actions you are asking, you are talking about that renunciation. They should not have any such attachment. So you are talking about the high principle of renunciation. Another side, while doing action, you are saying, yes, be united with the divine. Now, when you are united with the divine consciousness, what is even, Tukaram has also said, Brahmanandi lagali tari kona dehate sambhari. When I have got Brahmananda, who's going to take care of the body? What's requirement of this body? So, what is this? You are talking about that high, great realization, and on the other side, you are saying doing actions with that high realization of liberation. When I am liberated, it is like that said, the drop has become the ocean. Now, why should the drop worry about anything? But no, you are telling remain the drop and yet be connected. What kind of logic you have to? You cannot speak both, Krishna is what he's saying. Tell me of these two, which is best? Please do tell. Which is the way that will augur me well? What is Yat Shreyaha? Again, this is the same question. Again, from the beginning, Krishna, but one thing Arjuna is realizing, he wants to know what is the right thing. Yat Shreyaha. He is not wanting what is pleasurable. This is the Kathopanishad duality. Yama keeps in front of him. It's Shreyaha, yet then there is one more Preyas. Shreyas and Preyas. Preyas is pleasurable. Shreyas is that which is right. And Yama gives both in front of Nachiketsa. I'll give you, you choose. But he says, no, I don't want Preyas. This will disappear after a while. It will. Instead, I want Shreyas because I know this is the one which is going to last. So Arjuna also begins in the starting. Yat Shreya Syananishchitam Bruhi Tanme. He says that beginning only, Shishyasteham, when he says that also for the first time, his first act of surrender which started the Gita, that time also he wanted Shreyas. Now also he wants to know what is Shreyas. Though he is having doubts, he is clear on that aspect that he wants the right thing. He wants to know that. Interestingly, I had met one poet. He said for him, Shreyas and Preyas has become one. Yoga and Bhog have become the same for him, he says. That was very nice to hear. Right? It is somewhere his that duality also has disappeared. But let us see, let us go on. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasaha Karma Yogascha Nishreya Sakaravabhau Tayostu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. Lord Krishna replied, the path of divine action and the way of renunciation, both these two lead to the ultimate liberation. But amongst all paths, if one were to choose the best, the way of divine union in activities is superior to the rest. So Krishna says, see, there is one side, there is the way of divine union, another side is the way of renunciation. Both these two, they are going to lead to the ultimate liberation. But he says, if you were to ask me, if one path you want to take from these two also, he says the way of divine union in activities is superior to rest. So nowhere are we getting the chance to escape from karmas. Krishna is saying the best way. So, but even the sannyas way also, marga is ultimately leading to the same truth. But if you want to ask me what is Shreyas, I will tell you it is this, is what he says. Now he goes on to describe what is sannyas. ज्ञेयः स नित्यसन्न्यासी यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो sukham bandhat pramuchyate. A sannyasi can be thus defined, O mighty armed one, as he who holds attachments none. So somebody who does not have any attachments, that person is a sannyasi. That is the simpler way, simplest definition of sannyasi, is having no attachments at all. For he experiences neither desire nor dislike. Detachedly, he considers both to be alike. So he's gone to that state. Many times it's like when the very elders in the house, grandparents, they are almost like sannyasi only for the grandchildren. They don't understand. Should I take this? Ah, yeah, take it. Why he is not feeling like there were so wonderful sweets? Grandfather was going to eat, but the young child comes greedily and says, "I want your sweet also." So the grandfather smiles and gives it, or the grandmother just gives it like that. What happened? Does he not have? They have transcended. For them, it is all right. It is fine. Eat it or I don't eat it. Many times, there's a common dialogue. They say, "Ah, I have eaten a lot in my younger days. Now it's your time to eat." So this very aspect, it is sannyasi where you are not having any attachments, because that is it. Desire is also not there inside, dislike is also not there. Both are the opposites. They are looked at as similar in one way. Krishna goes on. The next one. Sankhya Yogau Pruthak Balaha. Sankhya Yogau Pruthak Balaha Pravadanti na Panditaha Ekamapyasthitah Samyak Ubhayor Vindate Phalam. It is children naive who thus consider and think that renunciation and liberated actions are contrasting.
Which
So,
shloka that?
fourth shloka, Bhamaji.
Yes.
Did I miss?
Nyeyaha saga nitya sannyasi.
Oh, I'm
Yo
sorry. I did not read. Oh, I did not read the third shloka, is it? I'm sorry. I'll come back to the third one. Yes, yes, yes. Nyeyaha. Yes, please. Nyeyaha sa nitya sannyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahab. I read this, I think. I read it. Yes, yes, Babaji. I did read it. I remember reading it. So we are now in the fourth one. So Sankhya Yoga Pruthak Balaha Pravadanti na Panditaha. Now this Sankhya Yoga Pruthak Balaha means sometimes now when we say don't be a child to someone, what is the meaning of that? Don't act like a child. What is the meaning of such a statement when we make it to someone? Do we make it to children or generally we make it to adults? Don't, why are you acting like a child, or what is the meaning of that? Yes, please, anybody.
Without knowing the consequences,
Or
or
ignorance. It is sometimes no. So it is like,
doing something.
yes, children are sometimes ignorant because it is understood for them. They are young, learning and everything. But after somebody who has grown up, and then that person says no, it's like a child says no, no, I want the son. Then the mother can laugh. But when a grown-up man goes and asks his mother that no, no, I want the son with me, the mother is going to say, what's wrong? Why are you behaving like a child? Is it not? So something like that. Krishna is saying, this is Pruthak Balaha. These are like children, naive. Who are they? He says, it is the children naive who thus consider and think that renunciation and liberated action are contrasting. For the wise can successfully operate with both in sync, and the results of such actions are everlasting. So this is beautiful. The wise can operate with both, with renunciation and liberated actions. They are not opposite. Arjuna, you are just like behaving like a child, thinking these are two opposite things. The wise can experience both together, and that is why their actions have long reaching results as well. They stay for longer reasons because they're not driven by individual egos, they're driven by a higher force, and their little actions also have greater benefits. If you see, like there was one person who had taken sannyas diksha, and normally sannyas diksha is given by guru only after looking at the person if he has any other responsibilities for family or society and all that is complete. Then even sannyas diksha is given only after the permission of, if it's a married householder, he has to, if it is the he has to get the approval from his own family members and then enter on the marga. Otherwise it is not possible. And so one person had we knew one wonderful social worker who's been teaching some Sanskrit for so many years. He took sannyas diksha, and that time he interacted with my guru, and my guru knew him very well because he had worked under him together for a long time. He just asked him a question. Karma sannyas, wow, purna karma sannyas also means have you taken full sannyas from even your actions, which was he was doing social work, that work also. I mean, he actually initially laughed and then he tried to escape and he did not continue that conversation. and then he suddenly something he felt about it, and then afterwards he's again restarted all his works. So that aspect of works are not to be left aside at all, because works are everywhere. So even a sannyasi has responsibility towards the Vishwa. Those karmas have to be done. They might be slightly different from that of the grahastha, but they are nowhere. They cannot escape from that. And the wise understand that both are one, and that is why they operate with both at one time only, and that is why they can have long-lasting results. Krishna goes on. He says, "Yat sankhyahi prapyate sthanam तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं सांख्यं च yogam cha यः pashyati सः pashyati." So this is the Krishna's start. He is going to now continuously keep telling us यः pashyati सः pashyati means somebody who sees. What is the meaning of that? Well, somebody who can see the truth with the inner eye, who can understand, that person can see the truth. Otherwise it's just something which is going to be in the front, but not, people are sometimes, the truth stands in front of them and yet they cannot see it. So you need an eye, a perceiver's eye. With that you can see, and Krishna is saying the same status which from renunciation may be won by a divine union in works can be reached with ease, for both renunciation and liberated actions are one. He who can thus see, he can truly see. So this same, what is Krishna trying to say? Is he trying to say that the sannyasi and the grihastha can be on the same pedestal, on the same level? Is that what Krishna is saying, or can we consider them to be on the same level? Or one is a sinner who is engaging in activities of the world and so is polluted by sin, and another is free. What do you think is the statement meaning, that so the same status can be won? And with
Yes,
divine
they
works,
can be at the same level
they can be.
because
Yeah, okay.
because if karma and sannyas goes together, so like always as Krishna said that spirituality and karma, they are not separate. They
Okay,
have to
okay.
go hand in hand.
They have to go
So if
hand in
anybody
hand.
is doing the worldly things, like anybody, so if they are doing with full devotion without attaching into the desires or the results, they are doing their action, but they are not expecting the result. So they are doing parallelly both the things.
And here Krishna says it can be achieved with little relative ease also, a little more easily when you are doing this. How do you think that is logical, Deepti ji?
You, because you are in that karma yoga, you are
Okay.
not forcing yourself to I have to
Acha.
I have to be so.
If I ask a question, Deepti ji, for example, now if I'm asking you to meditate, is it easier to go meditate in the jungles or meditate on by the riverside, or is it easier to meditate in your house with children running around, somebody talking on the phone, TV going on? Which is easier?
No, the river one is easy
The
because it's
river
more
one is
calmer,
easier.
more
So
calmer.
it is calmer.
But when I'm doing it, when if there's a lot of noises and people are around me,
Hmm.
to keep my mind intact there and focus.
The challenge is greater, we can say. The challenge is greater. But probably that challenge is greater, that is why it is like the results are also, because when our human nature is like that. More challenges are thrown to us, we rise faster. That is one nature, is it not? So probably it is a greater experience if we can, despite being in the flux of activity, that anybody can meditate. I mean, I'm not saying anybody can meditate that way, that also requires a lot of difficulty. But if you look at it in the world, in the flux of actions, in the flux of reactions, if you are able to remain detached and still perform your duties, well, Krishna says that highest state can be reached, which the great yogis and tapasvis also reach. So yes, we have also seen that in many great stories of so many people. Grihastha yogis are also there who are living. They are not sinners because they are having a life with people. Instead, if they can transmute every action towards the divine, that can help them reach the higher state as well, is what Krishna says. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptam अयोगतः योगयुक्तो मुनिर्ब्रह्म न चिरेणाधिगच्छति. It is difficult to achieve the state of renunciation without uniting with the divine in every action. For the wise sage who has attained this togetherness, the knowledge of Brahma he can soon unearth and harness. So that yogi who has brought this oneness in the karma also, and yet it is like best example Krishna is only going to give Padma Patra. How it is like the lotus leaf, droplets are on the water, on the they are like pearls, simple droplets also, they glitter like pearls on the leaf and they don't get stuck to the leaf. That is like that is that yogi who is remaining in the state of detachment. The wise who have attained this togetherness, they can unearth the Brahma's consciousness. We saw Brahmarpanam, Brahmavir, Brahmagnav, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaiva tena gantavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. Karma is also going into Brahma, and that everything is entering into that Brahma. This person is a Munir Brahma, he is the one who is God. This Muni has entered into Brahma's consciousness, who has got this fine line. It's a very fine line, but if you can manage it, and many times if you just get it right, things really make all difference. Krishna goes on, yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarvabhutat sarvabhutatma bhutatma kurvannapina lipyate. So this person who is a Jitendra, who is the one who has conquered his senses, all his indriyas have been conquered by this individual. That purest soul who is engaging in yoga, having gained victory over his six senses, in whose self the realization of every being is found, his actions are liberated. For by work he is not bound. That person is truly free and he is not bound by any of these works also. He is liberated and he's got that realization. And he is called a Jitendra, somebody who has conquered the six Indriyas, all of them. Naiva kinchit. So the karma is not going to bind that person. One more great, what we can say, bonus feature of getting into Munir, this Brahma's consciousness, is that now karma bandhanas are not going to, trap you. They're not going to pull you down. They're not going to make you. You're not going to fall on your face again because of your desires. Instead, you are now going to be slightly elevated. You will be that lotus in the full pond of dirt also. You will remain that beautiful lotus which will attract Brahmas from all across everywhere. That state of consciousness cannot be disturbed by the surroundings also. That person, Krishna, he is engaging in purification and then there is no end. On the Adhyatmic mark, it is not like Mount Everest, you go to the top and then finally you can wave the flag from there. No. You go on top of that also, you will see a new horizon. Probably you have to take there's a story of the mother. She's written where the seeker goes to the top. And then that person has to take a dive and dive into another layer, another world. There's a new world which is waiting. So there are so many levels that are to be ascended. But the journey must go on and that purification keeps going and this person just is liberated and just ascending on that path. Krishna goes on, Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyate tattvavit pashyan shrunvan sparshan jigran ashnan gachan swapan shvasan. So this, the knower of the true principles of all existence, he knows that he is not the cause of his subsistence. Means it is that this person understands that he or she is not the source of the existence of that person. He says, no, I am not doing anything. He says, no, it is not that. I am not doing anything. I am not the source of everything. Now, what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of recognizing that you are not the source of your existence? Because I exist, so I am is what people say. So I am there. I is everything. I is my ID. I is what I carry around. I have my own preferences. But here, Krishna is saying that person realizes his I is not himself. His I is something which has come out of different. There's a supreme I, higher one, probably not the individual I of English. What is that? Anybody could say this. What is this? If one is not the source, how can we say we are not the source of our own existence? Or is it actually a very logical and practical thing? Is it a truth that we are not really the source of our own existence? Anybody?
I can try. I mean, we didn't choose to be born first of all.
Okay, ji. Yes. Ji.
You can just only approach it. You don't think, I cannot say it for example.
Ha ha.
So somebody may say father, mother.
Ha. Father, mother. Okay.
Then it goes beyond that.
It goes beyond that also. All right. Father, mother have an important role.
They had a father, mother, etc.
Yes, yes, yes. But orphans also grow. Orphans also grow in life without father and mother also.
No, no,
So,
but
but
they
it
were
is
created.
important. Yeah, yes,
Right.
yes. They were created by a definitely, definitely Vasudevanji. So
Uh,
yes, yes, please, Ji, please continue.
it's a journey of your soul.
Okay,
Your birth, existence, there is nothing you have nothing to do with that.
okay.
It's a soul journey of your soul.
Okay, okay, this is also interesting. Okay, so Jivatman is journeying. It is the journey we have told. It is the infinite one, the ethereal one, from the beginning till the end. Okay, that is interesting. Yes.
But do we have that consciousness always in? We are always
Okay.
thinking that.
So maybe that consciousness
No,
is
the soul
difficult to
Atma.
access. Yes. Okay. We will not look at the atmic level. Maybe at the practical level. Anybody, Dipti ji wanted to add something. We'll come
Yeah,
to
I was
that.
just saying that that this body of ours, it's given by God.
Okay.
So, and He's the one who's like controlling, and we are just doing our actions based on how He's guiding us.
Okay, okay. Deepti ji is saying Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam, Isha Upanishad's first verse only, that yes, all that is has come from the divine. So we should recognize that we are not our own source. That is true, but if we go into a more practical way, even an atheist will cannot say he is the source for his own existence. Because rightfully said as by Vasudevanji that yes, parents have given birth to an individual. Then not just the parents, then there are the others who have raised the person, the life experiences that the person have had. So many things are making a person what that person is. But we don't realize there are so many people whom we do not see and we are directly influenced. We do not know what our ancestors went through. We don't even know, for example, now even in India, not just our ancestors, if you look at the free air that we breathe, we are breathing this free air because of sacrifice of so many people we don't even know. Right now also sacrifices are continuing. Young soldiers are laying their lives for our Rashtra. But we don't even know them and yet we are reaping the benefits of somebody else's sacrifice. Somebody's work from somewhere is helping another person elsewhere. This is that way. So an individual is not the entire thing. He is what we can say a part of a complete bigger ecosystem which is at function. And so if the individual understands his role, it is not everything. That is a great realization. And Krishna is saying that who understands the true principle of existence. It is said like we have runa. There are so many runas. The day we are born, we incur a runa. First is a runa to our parents, then runa to our teacher. Debt, a debt that we have to sometimes you cannot repay. Children cannot say, okay, my parents spent this much money on me for so many years. Now I have started earning this much money here. I have just transferred a check. I have repaid your debt. No, it is not. Who is going to pay the interest? And that interest is not some compound interest only. It's something which is exponential, which cannot be paid in life. So this aspect is there. One person is not. If you see, we are having runa to our indriyas also. Our organs are functioning well. We are lucky. We are blessed. Our eye suddenly says, no, I don't want to see, or our ears stop functioning. What's going to happen? Suddenly people have different diseases also which they stop functioning. So again, our eyes are functioning, our ears have their role, our tongue has its role. So each of these are making us what we are. We cannot say I am only this or I am not only my eyes. Suddenly if I am relating myself to my eyes only, tomorrow if I were to grow blind, what's going to happen to my existence? It will not disappear. One facet of it will disappear probably. But I am not just that, but these are all parts of me, and I am not just an individual. This aspect Krishna is saying, the knower understands it. He says, the knower of the true principles of all existence knows that he is not the cause of his subsistence, nor is he performing the acts of seeing, hearing, touching, or smelling, nor the actions of eating, moving, sleeping, or even breathing. Now, what is that? Then who is doing this action? If you are not doing it. Next sloka, Krishna clarifies. He says, Pralapan Visrujan Granan Unmishan Nimishan Api Indriyani Indriyartheshu Vartanta iti dharayan. Neither in the physical acts of speaking or adjusting, nor in the involuntary acts of eyes opening or closing. Our eyes blink. In all these actions also, are we doing that? Are we making our heart beat? Today I got so tired, I had made my heart pump so many times in a day. We don't say that dialogue because it's happening. Even the involuntary actions which are keeping us alive, they're happening on their own. Breathing, all of this is happening. He knows that in these actions it isn't he who is acting, and he understands that it is his senses that are reacting. So the senses are reacting to this, the stimulus that they are receiving. He is not doing anything in that. That the person realizes. Probably this is a state of one higher consciousness, if we can understand. The individual consciousness will not sometimes it is the source of trouble. To rise above that, it is required. But we don't know what Arjuna is going to then start thinking. He may say, I am not fighting the war because it is just the Indriyas. My Indriyas have decided, or it is his mind that has decided. He is not yet reached there yet. That we can be certain. Krishna goes on further. ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि संगम त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रम एवाम्भसा. So what happens when you do this consecration to the Brahma? When one who consecrates to the Brahma his every action and performs them in a state of renunciation, no sin can pollute his immaculate belief, just as droplets of water cling not to the lotus's leaf. So like the Padma Patra, that person becomes like the Padma Patra. All this big list which Arjuna had made in the first Adhyaya, all the different papa, Mitra Droha, Guru Hatya, Kulakshaya, so many. It is like even the Pitars, everybody is getting disturbed. All these Varna Sankara, the entire list he was making of papa. Krishna is again saying, if you are in that state, Arjuna, if you reach that state, what papa are you going to wonder? What is Shubha, what is Ashubha in that state? Because you have consecrated everything to the Brahman. In that state, you are now not acting only. It is Brahma's consciousness that is functioning through you. The divine is functioning through you, is what Krishna is saying. And that person is like this lotus leaf, is not going to be trapped in this. Krishna goes on, Kayena manasa buddhya kevalairindrayairapi yoginah karma kurvanti sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. But their bodies, minds, intellect and senses, they function and consider not any of them as their own. For to them a perfect detachment is known, and so they engage in the process of self-purification. Krishna says they function by their bodies, they function by their intellect, they function by their senses. They don't consider it as their own. These are all parts of me, but they are not me. I am more than that. It is like that. It is mano buddhi hankar chitta vina nacha shrotra jeve nacha grana netre nacha vyoma bhume nacha tejo navayo chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. It is not my, I'm not my mind, I'm not my buddhi, I'm not any of this, I'm not my eyes. All, who am I? I am Chidananda Rupa. This was the young boy's realization. A young Adi Shankaracharya, it is a young age he had this sakshatkar. What was that meaning of it? Means never did he use his mouth? Did he not use his eyes? Yes, he did. But he did have that conscious realization that these are parts of him, but not him only. So this, they function, they do like work like normal people. Arjuna was also wondering, how is this samadhi state? How does that person sit? How does he walk? Well, they talk, walk, everything like normal human beings only. It is there, but they don't consider that they are all their own. They have understood the perfect meaning of detachment and they engage in a self-purification. There is no limit to purification of an individual. It is something which can keep, and the more you purify, the more joyous the life becomes. It is like somras is to be distilled again and again, and then it becomes more and more potent. It is something like that. This Satchidananda can be experienced maybe as we go on further in this path. Krishna goes on, Yuktaha karma phalam tyaktva shantim apnoti naishtikim ayuktaha kama karena phale sakto nibadhyate. By giving up all desires for the outcomes of actions, the zenith of peace a soul can attain certainly. But those bound by desires of action live uncertainly, obsessed with phantom fruits and their material attractions. So Krishna says you can become free, you can become truly free. You can attain the highest peace. Param Shantim, the highest state of peace can be attained. But what if somebody doesn't want to attain it? He says, no, I want my desires. Well, you are going to live by the desires, then the desires are not going to give you peace. You will always be restless because the desires are not going to. Even anxiety is out of rising out of desires only. I want my child, I want my friend, I want my beloved, or everybody to behave this way, and they are not behaving this way, this desire is not getting fulfilled. All these activities keep troubling a person, and the person is never free. And by anxiety, you cannot ensure that what you want is going to happen. It is only going to trouble you. You want somebody to behave a particular way. It cannot work like that. You don't have a remote in your hand which can control somebody else. They will behave the way they have to. If you can let go of that, Krishna says, those who are bound by desires, they live with full uncertainty. We're not sure what's going to happen, what's everything. Always, because now nobody knows what's going to happen. That's the truth. I cannot say what's going to happen, say what, 10 days. I cannot say what's going to happen tomorrow for me in my life. But that is the truth of life. But anxiety and holding on to desires, that creates a great flux of disturbance inside of an individual. And such is a person who's driven by desires. With phantom fruits, all material attractions, they keep driving a person away. सर्वकर्माणि मनसा संन्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी नवद्वारे पुरे देहि नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन्. Possessing self-control with perfection, with poise he dwells in nature with satisfaction. Within the 9 gates of the body he resides, neither in being the doer nor in the cause he presides. He prides. Neither in being the doer nor the cause he prides. So he is not considering himself as the cause of everything, or he is not considering himself, I am doing everything, I am the one, or everything is happening because of me only. These two bhavas are not in such a person. This person who has got great self-control, who is balanced, he is happy, he is a truptatma, and he is living in the city of 9 gates. The body is called a city of 9 gates. What is the meaning of that? Why do they say this body is a city of 9 gates? Navadwara. Anybody? Bhamaji, I think you are on mute, so I cannot hear you. Sorry.
Eyes, ears, nose.
Ha ha. So yes.
Other things.
So these are the openings in the body. We have these Navadwaras. And so what happens to the door? Atithi comes, Atithi comes, sometimes Atithi goes also. Something like that. And Krishna is somebody we know, his name, one name is Ranchod also. He runs away. So if he is inside, trap him quickly. Do not allow him to go. All those 9 gates have to be in your control. Then this guest will stay with you. Why the yogis do this sadhana? They want to control, and it is said it is these dwaras only. Even the prana enters enters into the being at the time of birth, and leaving it leaves through one of those dwaras only. That is why sometimes some people pass away with their eyes open, some people with their mouth open. It is like one of these dwaras the prana has decided to leave, and the yogis try to bring good control with sayam, and they keep these doors shut. It's like just as Deva also, even unknown forces also enter through this. It is like we have a big city and we have Navadwaras. Like now India has so many borders with so many countries. So what we have to do, all our soldiers are already deployed there, because any time we can have infiltration. We don't want anything wrong to infiltrate, something like that. Control, the yogi says, control your dwaras. And in that state, the person is not, he's in the full control of the senses. He's not going to allow what he hears, what he's smelling, or what he's speaking, or what he's touching, all these to allow him to descend in consciousness. He's controlling himself and he lives happily. Krishna goes on further. Nakar, one second, Hari Om. Yes. न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजते प्रभुः न कर्म फल संयोगम स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते. The Lord of all living beings, the Creator Supreme, created not works nor their ownership in the mortal realm. The feelings of doing works and the fruit-seeking desire, it is only nature who thus did conspire. So now we see a duality of something. One is a Purusha, another is Prakriti. Purusha cannot be blamed, is what Krishna is saying. Purusha is detached. He is there. His counterpart, Prakriti, is responsible. Because of Prakriti, we have this feeling. We have already seen gunas functioning in nature. Prakriti is probably the installer of softwares in all human beings and creator of hardware also. We do not know. But Prakriti is responsible for what? Even Ahankar, this feeling of doing works and desire. All of this is the game of Prakriti, is what Krishna is saying. The Purusha is already higher. We'll see what this Purusha Prakriti duo has to do. Later on in the Gita, it will be explained. But Krishna is again introduced. It was this Prakriti's conspiracy that we've all got Ahankar inside of us. Let us go on further. Na datte kasyachit papam na chaiva sukritam vibhuhu ajnanena vrutam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. The omniscient one God of all subjects, man's sins or virtues, he neither accepts nor rejects. Over knowledge, a cloak of ignorance is spread, and that is why living creatures are thus misled. So, Supreme Creator, the Divine, He is beyond all of this Shubha Shubha. He is not going to be worried about all of this. He is in that state of highest consciousness where ultimately everything gets one only. Our pain in this world also ultimately gets, when it goes up to that level, it becomes transmuted into Ananda only. That state there is only Ananda. So He is there, He is not accepting or rejecting anything. He is in that state of one kind of consciousness. But over our wisdom, over our knowledge, there is a cloak of ignorance, what we can call Maya, that is preventing and which is actually misleading a lot of creatures. They do so many things in the name of God, and sometimes they are doing all the wrong things only because they have ignorance inside of them. This is the way of ignorance. ज्ञानेन तु तज्ज्ञानं येषां नाशितम् आत्मनः तेषाम् आदित्यवत् ज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम्. So for those who by the self-knowledge are liberated, ignorance's darkness within them is verily annihilated. The light of knowledge in these beings glows like the immortal sun, dispelling night shadows. Adityava Jnanam. This Jnana is called like a brilliant sun. It's like the Aditya, the Suvarna Aditya, the brilliant light, which will dispel all forms of ignorance. So when that awakening happens, ignorance is going to run away. It will not stand in the early morning when the sun rises. How darkness flees. Just like that. That is the exact way Krishna says. Next, 17th one. Tad buddhayastadaatmanastannishthasthatparayanaha gacchantya punaravrittim jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. On the self they meditate, channeling their intellect, taking refuge. On the self they consciously reflect, cleansed of their sins by the purifying waters of light. Towards the destination of no return, their souls take flight. So what happens with this purification? Now meditation has again been introduced. Once before Krishna talked about it. Second, he is now talking about those great yogis, those great munis. Excuse me. They are meditating on the divine. Krishna says that they are channeling their intellect on the divine. They are taking refuge, the Sharana of the divine, constantly reflecting on the divine only. And what happens then? They get cleansed. They are getting cleansed by it. These are like the light, the showers of light which are falling, and they fall onto that individual. And in that way, they reach to that destination of no return. Meaning of this destination of no return is like it is that destination from which there is not going to be another fall in consciousness. They go to one state. It is like suddenly this bird realizes that I am not the bird meant to be in a cage, getting some kind of somebody is coming and feeding me. I am the Rajahamsa and Manasarovar is my home. If when that destination is realized by the great Rajahamsa, will that Rajahamsa wait for somebody to give its food, or it will go? It wants to go to the Manasarovar. It wants to eat the lotus seeds on its own. Yes, because that realization has got. Once the realization is got and destination has been understood, then there is going to be no return. There is going to be no fall. Yeah, even Jnaneshwara had told the same thing. Hachi nema atha na fire maghari. Now this is the aim. Now there is no going back. Now we've understood that this is the one aim that is in front of me. So this is the realization. Krishna goes on. 18th one. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shunichaiva Shwapakecha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. Those whose eyes are illumined with the knowledge's insight, all living ones appear equivalent and identical to their sight. So what happens? Samatha in the highest state is got. who has got that realization. So what happens then? From the learned spiritual seeker to the elephant or the cow, from the dog to the consumers of lower animals like the sow, all of them, that samatha comes manifesting in that person. It's not going to make a difference. The saint and the sinner, they don't look different because now the person is seeing on a different level of consciousness. He's able to understand behind this outer veil also that what is the truth. That does not make a difference. Sometimes people get so excited or disturbed with the outer appearance that it really disturbs their consciousness. Sometimes, people come with a garb of a saint and convince. Sometimes people come for donation also. The way they talk and they connect, like some people. I know of a person. That person just gave a very big donation, and after the person went, they didn't understand what was it. Did that person do a kind of hypnotic action on me, and how it happened, what happened? People don't understand it because they are giving importance. They don't know such a great saint has come, and that saint said something like this: "Do like this. Now you give donation." And this person gives a very big donation. He doesn't understand. Then later on, after the person goes away, the person comes back to the sense and then wonders what happened. Same way, sometimes people look at some people and they say, "No, look, this is not a saint. This person is like this only. This person is a fool." But later on, they find out, no, that person was not. Many times they say outer garb is actually a ploy of the divine, trying to even if you see, there's a Vyada Gita. A butcher teaches the Gita to one great yogi. Whether Narayana takes that form. So the outer garb is just sometimes just an we have understood that is just one more asset. It is not everything, and the person who has reached in that state, he understands that yes, whether it is a spiritual seeker, it is the elephant or the cow or even a dog or even to the lower animals. Jiddu Krishnamurti had said God and Dog are one. Now somebody who gets listens to that would get very angry. How can you say God and dog? This is blasphemy. You cannot say that. But there was a different level of thinking what he meant when he said that. So whatever it may be, this realization which comes from an understanding, an inner understanding, that makes one see everything as one. Krishna goes on, Ihaiva tairjitaha sargo yesham samye sthitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te sthitaha. They are the champions here in this world itself, for with a poised mind they have united with their self. Their faultless mind experiences the Brahma's oneness, and they breathe and dwell in the Brahma's consciousness. Ihaiva tejitaha sargo means here only, in this place itself. There is nothing greater than this that Krishna is saying. In this world, in this birth, which birth are you waiting for realization or sakshatkar? You can get it in this place itself. They are the champions who have got it, he says, with a poised mind. So the potential of human life is so great that we sometimes do not even realize that greatness is there. And this birth we can get the realization. Krishna says that faultless mind can experience that oneness. But for that, so much purification is required. Some people say, no, I don't want to do it this birth. Let me try doing it in the next birth, as if they are going to get a choice. It's not a restaurant where we are choosing the menu. Our karmas are there, our sanskaras are there. So it is always better to do what you have right now than try to push it to later on. So in this birth, we can get that, and Krishna says that such person experiences this Brahmic oneness. They breathe, they dwell in that Brahma's consciousness. Next shloka. न प्रहृष्येत् प्रियं प्राप्य नो द्विजेत् प्राप्य च प्रियं स्थिरबुद्धिरसम्मूढो ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः. He rejoices not when his needs are fulfilled, nor grieves over the wants that are unfulfilled. With the clarity of mind, free from every distress, the awakened one resides in the eternal Brahma's oneness. Krishna says that this person does not rejoice when the needs are fulfilled. The person is not grieving also when they are unfulfilled. The mind is free from every distress, and that awakened one, that person, he dwells in the oneness of Brahma. Bahyasparsheshvasaktatma vendityatmani yat sukham sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnate. So the akshaya sukha is that which is experienced by the person. Akshaya, that which is not going to deteriorate, it is just going to keep on increasing. There's a date called Akshay Tritiya when everybody, that is a considered a very auspicious day, or what you do on that day will not reduce. So what do people prefer? Go grab. Yes, yes, Bamaji. They buy gold. They buy gold. They not. Why should I read a book today? I want to. If I read a book, I'll have to keep reading a book. Is what they feel. Instead, buy gold. I'll keep getting more and more gold. But they don't understand. As they go into the buy gold, all their desires make them do all the funny things. Then they fight with somebody on their way. They fight with their own members. All these things come into the picture. But what is it that we would want which should not deteriorate? Is it some wealth or some shiny metal, or would you like to have something more, something higher, which is more valuable? That the yogi understands. Krishna says, he who is not touched by the sensations external enjoys the blissful realization of the Supreme Self eternal. He who has united with the Supreme Self Brahma, he enjoys the boundless bliss of union with his soul, his Atma. So this Chidananda, Satchidananda is capable, is possible. It is possible. Ihaiva Krishna has already told in this Adhyaya. Ihaiva Tairjita Sargo, in this world, in this Prithvi, in this Manushya Yoni, in this experience itself, what are we waiting for? It is possible is what Krishna is saying. When you are able to control yourself. We do not know how Arjuna is going to take. Already, all of us, we've already seen a deterioration in the participation from the moment Krishna went into Vedanta. So much, it is like we are in the comforts of our home. But look at Arjuna. Look at Arjuna. He is in the battlefield, and Krishna is going on. What is Krishna trying to lead? And the biggest question is Arjuna actually understanding, or is it just going to be another question where he is not going to believe anything? Actually, later on, we will see all remains in Arjuna's mind. Initially, he is arguing. We will see somewhere after the 8th Adhyaya. Arjuna then draws the dots. It's like dots are all scattered right now. He's not connected them, but when he connects it, what a brilliant picture is going to appear. That is there. We will see it later on. Let us go on now. Yehi sansparshaja bhoga dukha yonaya evate आद्यन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधा. From the sensual means, all the enjoyments that come portend towards gloom, and only sorrow they become, for they are fleeting, with a finite beginning and end. O Arjuna, they attract not the wise, who clearly comprehend. So Krishna says this from the sensual means, all the enjoyments that come. Well, they just go towards sorrow only, Krishna is saying, because our indriyas are limited. Sometimes people like sweets and they eat a lot of sweets because that is my ananda, they feel. It is not ananda, it is some kind of happiness. But after a while, diabetes comes into picture, and then ananda becomes greatest maha dukha of the life. Because I cannot eat sweets, what is the purpose of my existence? Then they negotiate with the doctors. Give me a stronger dose, but allow me to have amras, allow me to have all the other tasty sweets, as if this is going to balance. But that's not the way the good doctor advises. No, these are not these insulin will not just help reduce. It is not some plus or minus mathematics. So many other factors are in the picture. But the person is now driven only by desires. That person is not going to just allow his mind to run anywhere else other than desires. And desires, all desires have which are coming from the indriyas. All of them have a limited span. After a while, they get sometimes our desires which we had when we were kids suddenly expired when we became adults. Those desires are no more required. We had new desires. As we grow a little bit more, the desires also change. So, what happens to all those things that are so important to us? They are ending. They are ending. That is what is the problem with desires. Krishna says this. He says they portend towards gloom. They become sorrow ultimately. But because they are finite, they have a fleeting span, finite beginning, finite end. The wise understand this, and so they are not attracted by it. Young Nachiketas was told, I'll give you great land, great property, I'll give you great life. You will have the longest life that a human being had. Your next 10 generations will live for 100 years. You will have and for a young boy, Yama was tempting a young boy, saying you will have the most beautiful women also, which the greatest Purushas also will not be able to earn like that. Now this guy is very clear. He says, no, Yama, what will happen afterwards? What will happen to this great empire that I built? One day you are going to come and you're going to take it all away from me. So I don't want. I've come to this place now. I don't want to go back there. I want to reach that highest truth, is what he says. No more desires can trap me. I know what is Shreyas. I want Shreyas. I don't want what is Preyas. So something like that, Krishna goes on. 23rd shloka, we'll stop here today on the 23rd shloka. Shaknoti haiva yah sodhum प्राक् शरीर विमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगम स युक्तः स सुखी नरः. Simple explanation of Krishna. Who is that Sukhi Nara? Who is that Truptatma? Who is that happy individual, blissful individual, or individual in a state of Ananda? He who is able to bear and sustain the rush of anger and the gush of desire. In this very birth itself he shall obtain the highest realization of bliss that man can acquire. So somebody who is able to maybe can we, if we have another 8 minutes, can we try to conclude this adhyaya, because it is just near the conclusion. Participants, you can just let me know. Can we? Yes or?
Yes.
Okay. All right. The recording will always be uploaded. Yesterday's recording and today's recording will be uploaded either today evening or by tomorrow. So yes, so Krishna is saying that person who is able to, he's able to control, he's able to, bear this rush of anger and the gush of desire, he can get the highest realization of Ananda. Interestingly, he is not saying not the person who never gets angry, who is never having desire. He is saying the person who is able to control this rush, because both anger and desire, they come in a force. They have a vega, they have this sudden force which they come. So many times they say count 1 to 10 when you get angry. Why? Because that 1 to 10, those you do what you do in a moment of anger, it sometimes creates the worst consequence. So better control your anger, and that moment, if you control that moment, your anger disappears. Only if you let it control you, then you are in the greatest trouble. Same is the case with desires. These are not something which sustain attack. Their attacks happen in bursts and in moments. If you can control those moments, Krishna says you can get the highest realization that can be got. योऽन्तः सुखोऽन्तरा योऽन्तरा सुखोऽन्तरारामस् तथान्तरज्योतिरेव यः स योगी ब्रह्मनिर्वाणं ब्रह्मभूतोऽधिगच्छति. One who experiences the bliss of realizing the inner self and also sees the light kindled within oneself, the yogi who realizes a state of divine extinction merges into Brahma, gaining absolute dissolution. That person enters into that sthiti, all of these desires have disappeared. He has lit that great flame inside of him. Krishna goes on, Labante Brahma Nirvanam Rishayah Kshina Kalmashaha Chinnadvaidha Yatatmanaha Sarvabhuta Hiterataha. Again, another beautiful verse of the Gita. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. In that state, what happens to the karmas of that person? These karmas are only the charity that the person does. It becomes the dana of that individual. When this extinction into Brahma is attained, for those sages a redemption is gained. Those illumined masters with minds free of uncertainty, their every work done for the good of all becomes charity. They are working for Lokasangraha. So every action, when they are in that higher state of consciousness, they don't have to worry about whether this is according to Shastra or this is according to this ritual. The Shastras will confirm the state of realization in that individual. Krishna goes on, Kamakrodha Viyuktanam Yatinam Yatachetasam Abhito Brahma Nirvanam Vartate Viditatmanam. The sages of the awakened self are liberated and free, for in their mind no desire or wrath can unconquered be, for within themselves the nirvana of Brahma they withhold, and around them this realization in all directions they unfold. So Krishna says this, those sages who have got that realization, who have experienced that realization, they are liberated and free. They are holding this nirvana of Brahma inside of them, and they become the torches or they become the beacons. Around them, this is unfolding. It is said when Gautama Buddha walked, when he walked, his aura would spread for tomorrow. We'll see about the aura. We'll just probably, I think we better stop at this shloka because one more technique of meditation is going to be introduced by Krishna. That we'll stop. We'll do tomorrow. We'll stop at shloka number 26. And three more shlokas we can see tomorrow and start the next adhyaya. So these sages, these liberated ones, they have no, in their minds there is no desire or there is no wrath that has not been conquered. They have already reached that state. What happens then? Then they are experiencing Brahma Nirvana. They become the beacons. They become the harbingers of that light. Wherever they go, they around them, it spreads. This spreads in all directions, is what Krishna says. In all directions, they unfold that. You have said the Gautama Buddha, when he walked around him there was an aura of peace, and this aura was not like some meters; it would stretch to kilometers. Suddenly, when in his aura, where people may be fighting, and as he has just walked past that area, suddenly that place Shanti would appear. This is the power, and this is a true thing. Each of us, if you look at right now, we all have an aura of ourselves. We are not conscious of it, but we know somebody walks in or walks around inside of our area of consciousness. We suddenly, our eyes dart towards the left and the right because we know people are around us. Even if we don't look at them, we can feel their presence. So like that, each person has one. Sometimes when there are meetings taking place, one person comes into the meeting and suddenly the entire disturbance in the meeting suddenly subsides. The person just says one word, and suddenly all the quarrel and everything, all the atmosphere changes. Well, that is the aura. Best example I can think of is how a student of Dr. Abdul Kalam, Arun Tiwari ji, who is also a very senior scientist and researcher, he shared about his experience. He was saying, growing up in the DRDO lab, he had first time his introduction of Abdul Kalam was when he understood the aura of a person, because he and his friend were in the metallurgy lab. They were in the library, they were reading something. While they were reading, suddenly in the library a pin drop, silence fell. And nobody knew what's happened. And they were all looking, all the people who were talking suddenly stopped talking. And then he looked and he asked his friend, what has happened? Yes, you see that person who is going, he's our new HOD. He's just completed this successful missile launch and he's now come as our HOD. And who is this HOD? And then he said, this is Abdul Kalam, Dr. Abdul Kalam. Now that was how later on he became a Shishya. Then when he was the president, he became an advisor to the president also. Arun Tiwari has written the great book also, Wings of Fire, and so many other things. His guru later told him to go into the medicine after engineering. That also, Guru Agya. He enters and he develops India's coronary heart stent also, the cheapest one, which again helped so many people. But this aspect which he talked about, the aura of the individual, yes, that is there. And then if everybody has an aura, is there something we can do to cultivate the aura? Yes, the answer is yes. And one of the ways of cultivating our aura is dhyana. And dhyana is going to be described by Krishna. Next shloka is actually about a description of dhyana. And in the next adhyaya, only two places Krishna talks about dhyana. But in those, it is like a blink and a miss shloka. You will just, it comes, so he doesn't talk about kundalini, he doesn't talk about chakras, nothing. But he just talks about a practical technique and then he suddenly goes into the next topic. So we will look at that. Probably we can even practice it for a minute in the session itself, and then maybe later on we can practice as well at home. So with this we conclude. We stop here at shloka number 26. Tomorrow we'll continue with, tomorrow I think it is Monday now, today is Friday, so Monday we will rejoin on 27th shloka. Hari Om. I'll conclude with the Shanti mantra, after which if anybody has any queries, any discussions, you are most welcome. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tat Sat. Krishnam Mande Jagat Kurum. Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Yes, please. Hari Om. Any queries? You are most welcome. Hari Om ji. Hari Om.
Shishyaji, I have a question here.
Okay, ji.
I don't know how relevant it is here, But sometimes when we say that we say that बच्चे भगवान की तरह होते हैं, we say that, right?
हाँ
But kids also do have desires. So how does that
but
statement apply to that, to the child? Because the child, after the child is also human, so he or she also has a desire. Of course, they're not like
जी
adults; they don't manipulate, but they do have desires. And when
जी
we
जी
say that बच्चे भगवान का रूप होते हैं, हमें उनकी तरह होना चाहिए,
जी
it's a
जी
common statement with everyone.
Yes, Deepti ji. So again, if you said the first statement, बच्चे भगवान की तरह होते हैं, that is itself saying everything, is it not? की तरह and भगवान ही होते हैं नहीं है. They are in the form of God. They are like God, but they are not God. Means like when they say namatu paradaivatam, meaning matru tattva, that is beautiful. Or if you see childlike innocence in the children, that is something which is divine. That is originally divine. But it is not everything, because if you see, innocence is good, but then when innocence remains without experience, it becomes ignorance, is it not? In life we should retain the innocence of childhood, yes, but we cannot forget the maturity that comes from experience which we have gathered. So yes, even again, one side we say namatu paradaivatam, and then Shukra went on to even attack his mother because she was going on the wrong direction. So the aspect is like that. The aspect is the divinity. We would look at the meaning of that saying, the principle. Because having a child like in seven, I think Ramakrishna Paramahans who had talked about devotees. So one is like a child. So that state of childlike state, it is a very nice state. Actually, my guru says he is also a child of the divine, one child leading other children. So meaning his sir is 75. He's not just a child for me. He's everything. But he says that childlike attitude is most important. Probably, Deepti ji, that phrase must be for teaching us that.
Yeah,
जी जी जी.
exactly.
Yes जी. हरिओम जी.
Hariom.
हरिओम 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 जी. हरिओम जी. धन्यवाद जी. हरिओम. हरे कृष्ण. हरिओम. हरिओम जी. हरिओम.
हरिओम जी.
हरिओम जी. हरिओम जी. हरिओम.